Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the interview room. Woo! Where are you at? Everybody's in the house.
American spirit.
Aloha.
You know I'm near.
Texas. We're almost at 300. Hit that subscribe button. Boom.
Singing like a wild wind. Hate to leave a good friend.
South Carolina, Alabama, Ohio, Florida, the Netherlands. Man, we love you. California. California. So great to have you all here. Ontario's in the house. Virginia Beach, the land of our warriors. Love them. Thank you for all of our first responders, our doctors, our nurses, and those of you that take care of each and every one of our freedoms and our armed services. Without you, I can't do this show. You make America what it is. And for that, I am very grateful. And our friends up north, we love you guys, and our friends in the UK and all around the world. So excited. Everybody's in the house. Well, tonight we've got an amazing show for you. Not only are our friends from across the pond, but by golly, I got a guy here. I'm going to have two. I got Gary coming in here in a little bit. He's with a patient, and as soon as he's done doing his deal, then he's going to jump in with us. But until then, we get none other than a gentleman that you know really, really well. He's not only a dear friend, I've known him since 1982. So what is that, 44 years now? And he doesn't age in any way, shape, or form. Must be those California avocados that he was eating all those years out there. So without further ado, the author of a new book that is out right now on Amazon. If you look at his name in the link below, you'll see John. You hit that link, you can get his book right now on Amazon. It just dropped today. So this is the third in his series of service with a sneer chronicle. So Sergeant John Lamb jumps into the fray tonight. John, it's great to have you here, buddy.
It's always both a delight and an honor, and I wish I felt as good as you think I look as far as age is concerned. Although, I don't know, avocados may have something to do with it because I sure like them. But it's a delight to be here. I want to say hi to everybody in chat and all of your viewers and the mods who are great, and Karen, who I know is actually running the operation behind the scenes here.
The brains of the operation, no question about it.
Brains of the operation. And the only thing I would say, I want to agree with you. Let's get it over 300,000 tonight. Please hit subscribe. And thank you to everybody offering congratulations. I'm thrilled the book is out. And I hope when you get it, you enjoy it, and gives you some insight into how homicides were worked in an era before DNA evidence, digital dumps from cell phones, and flock cameras. And it's really kind of old-fashioned cop work. It's gone out of style. I don't think that it's gone out of usefulness. It needs to be brought back. So let's jump into this, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And also a shout out to all of our mods out there, and Karen's in the chat here tonight. So thank you, all of our mods, for being who you are. I mean, without you, we're going on 6 years here, and you have brought this show to where it is. And but more as important, obviously, our audience, our subscribers, our members, our Patreon members. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We cannot thank you enough, and from the bottom of our heart. It's because of you that we have this opportunity to do this as well. So we're very appreciative of each and every one of you. Okay, big news today. A lot of moving parts, and there's a couple of things that we had talked about. I had talked about when this thing first kicked off, the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, and then all of us collectively, John, Gary, and others have. We all kind of got together and said, you know what, this DLR doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, doesn't smell right. John, what was your initial first impressions, if you remember, when this thing first went down?
My first impression, and it continues to be my abiding impression, was that this was never a kidnapping. And early on, we won't get into the impressions regarding how the crime scene was handled. But if we're merely talking about what occurred in the house that night, my sense was that it was an elimination event. And
Right.
I think that was pretty much shared with you and Dr. Gary.
Yeah, and it's been interesting because I think collectively we thought that, and I haven't really moved away from the home yet personally. In the last 7 months, I've tried to be reasonable and think through what are the what ifs. I mean, you have people out there now that are, the ideas that we come up here on the interview room, they basically take them, and now they're their ideas, which is, I guess, flattery, right?
Imitation is the sincerest form of theft.
There you go. I heard today, two FBI agents on, Megyn Kelly saying, "Yep, see, I was talking about the car from day one," and whatever. I haven't.
Well,
They
may have had a different day one than you, Chris.
I know. Well,
a later day one.
But here's the important part: it's memorialized on the internet, so anybody who ever wants to know can go back and see where the idea came from. But that said, wow. Today we have another statement from Miss Savannah Guthrie, who, in my opinion, she's the one who has really, really been suffering here. And we're gonna start this program out tonight in a couple of ways. We're gonna do an investigative analysis. Now, John was trained in behavior analysis. I was trained in behavior analysis in relationship to pedophilia, and connecting dots. Right, my gift from God is the ability to take minutia details and trying to put those things together. And for some reason, my brain works that way. And we're going to do that tonight with the notes. And we're going to do it also with the statements. I've spent a little time here putting together some things today. We're not going to get into Brian Koberger tonight, but we talked about that a while ago. We got it. We do have a show coming up on that this week.
Predicted, Chris.
Yeah, Dr. Gary's been right on target with Brian Koberger. We all called it. We said, if he's not done, trust me, he'll. And now he's stuck his head up out of the hole like whack-a-mole, and saying that everything is not what he was thinking. But here's the interesting part about that. So did Ted Bundy. Remember, Ted Bundy wanted to represent himself so he could get to the library. And what did he do once he was in the library? He went out the window and he escaped. So let's see how much homage Brian Koberger pays to his law studies, because he's got a right to study, and we're going to go into that later on. But tonight we're going to focus on the comparison of the notes, and we're also going to focus on the linguistics side of things. I thought that would be an interesting way to approach this, and so I'm going to take everybody back for a little bit, and while we're waiting for Gary to get here as well, I'm not gonna pick these notes apart just yet. Early on in the program, and by the way, this is going to take a little time. So those of you know, when John and I and my brain starts working, I tend to slow things down versus speed things up, because the first thing you'll find out about this channel is we try to be, I know, go figure, accurate in our information that we present, because this is a very powerful responsibility. And evident of the fact that thousands of emails hit the AG's office today about nanos. Keep it up. Good job, everybody. You guys are going to make a difference, man. I'm telling you this. We have an opportunity to do it. And if you didn't see that show last night, Karen did an amazing job putting together some research. And so anyway, that said, all right, so where are we going to start? Well, I'm going to start back at the beginning, right? Just like anything else. I'm not going to go back to the house, though. I'm going to go back to the very first ransom note that came in. And we know that ransom notes came into various different places, came into TMZ. They came into, the two news stations there in Tucson and Pima County. And, Brianna talked about it. Her station got one. She's a great journalist. And my question was, why Brianna and not Savannah? That was one of the questions I asked. Why Brianna, not Savannah? Why did the notes go to the news stations and not necessarily to the victim's family? And so that very first note that came in, we have, and I'm going to read it one more time tonight real fast, and then we're going to get into the sequence of why this may or may not make sense. The first of all, and I'm not going to analyze the note. I'm just going to read the note, okay? And here's Dr. Gary, just got finished. Hey, Gary.
How you doing?
Good. We're just starting, so you're in perfect time, and we're live.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
You started a few minutes late, you mean?
Huh?
You started a few minutes late, you mean?
Yeah. So we're just kicking. We are literally just kicking off.
We were vamping until your arrival.
Yeah. Oh, are you guys talking Koberger or Guthrie?
Guthrie. We're not talking Koberger yet. Good. Okay. So anyway, I just want to read the first note, and then everybody will be able to follow along. The next part of all the presentation is going to make sense as you follow along after this this note. Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. The note went on to demand millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Some are saying USD. That's kind of a mystery. I haven't seen it. We haven't seen it, so we really don't know. However, that's been reported. And the two deadlines. It specified two separate sums, $4 million in Bitcoin by Thursday, February 5th. And if that was not met, an increased demand of $6 million by February 9th, which is a Monday. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. If the payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday, the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. It is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negotiations. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. She had a white smartwatch that was on the floor near her bed, and there was a floodlight that was destroyed in the backyard. So that was the note that generated a lot of interest and a lot of conversation. That was the note, one of two, that came in to two different news stations. They may have come in, both of these notes may have come into both news stations simultaneously in terms of, sent to both news stations. But right now, it sounds like one went to one station, one went to the other, and then vice versa. That generated a response from not only the law enforcement authorities, but the family. And this was the very first statement that was in response.
On behalf of our family, we want to thank all of you for the prayers for our beloved mom, Nancy. We feel them, and we continue to believe that she feels them too. Our mom is a kind, faithful, loyal, fiercely loving woman of goodness and light. She's funny, spunky, and clever. She has grandchildren that adore her and crowd around her and cover her with kisses. She loves fun and adventure. She is a devoted friend. She is full of kindness and knowledge. Talk to her and you'll see.
The light is missing from our lives. Nancy is our mother. We are her children. She is our beacon. She holds fast to joy in all of life's circumstances. She chooses joy day after day, despite having already passed through great trials of pain and grief. We are always going to be merely human, just normal human people who need our mom. Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We miss you.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She is 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you, Mom. We love you.
Okay, that was the very first note that came in. That was the response. It was classic FBI, proof of life, try to personalize her, et cetera, without analyzing, the body language and all this other stuff tonight, because I don't want to go down that hole yet, because I've got a 15-slide presentation that I want to get through. However, the word she in the first note that came out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times it's mentioned. The word we, 1, 2, twice, and then the best interest of everyone, etc. And then you see a shift in how the authorities handled the very first intake of information. So behind the scenes, they got this note. They're hearing about it. The family hears about it because she says there, we hear about a ransom note. So apparently it didn't come to them like Brianna and the news agencies had reported. But now when you watch in retrospect how this whole thing started to unfold, there was a shift from law enforcement. And this was the shift.
This is Cameron Guthrie. I'm speaking for the Guthrie family. Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
Okay, so the authorities said, well, we're not hearing anything, so let's put Cameron in front of the camera as the mouthpiece for the family. John, what are your thoughts about that initial shift early on in the investigation?
Well, it runs counter to what the demand note says, which is, I'm not going to communicate with you. So it sounds to me as if this is an attempt to open communication. But I've got to say that I have serious misgivings about the ransom note, because you tend to send ransom notes to the people who are going to pay the ransom. You don't send them to media outlets. So there is some other dynamic that is operating here. But I think that they approached Cameron to just state it bluntly that, we need proof of life. We need to communicate with you. I also think that it was probably what they would refer to as a forlorn hope, because they hadn't heard anything from them after that initial communication.
Gary, anything jump out at you?
No, I think I echo what it is that you're saying, John, about it. It's just odd to me that the narrative is unfolding instead of remaining fixed. It almost feels like it's shaped as it, you know what I'm saying? It feels as if it changes, and that's very strange to me. You would think it would.
Yeah, there's an amorphous element to this that isn't like a dynamic kidnapping plan. It's almost as if the investigators and perhaps the family are attempting to put a format where none exists.
Well, you're going to see that very clearly in the presentation. And the audience is going to, we want to know what you guys are going to be thinking. So now they get a second letter that comes in. Also, they get phone calls and text messages requesting Bitcoin from Kalila and Hawthorne. All of this is going on behind the scenes. And the FBI by February 5th is on top of that guy. and starting to hook him up and connecting some of the dots. Okay. But the second note says, we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical conditions. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. She perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart-related. She is buried in nature now. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We are truly sorry. So now the authorities and the family is made aware of this note that basically says your mom's gone. And so they go public again. And this was the response, knowing that this note existed.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay. Hi.
So they knew that they had that note, and they also knew that they wanted their mom back. So Savannah kept on pushing the conversation into the public, trying to connect with the suspect. And so I'm going to let some of this just play because I've put it together, and then we're going to jump into our analysis here. And wait till you see some of this stuff, how it starts to make sense now and flow. It's going to be real interesting to hear your opinions.
There, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare.
They're 1 week into it.
I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock, trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help. I wanted to come on.
Now, I should also note, her sister's car has been impounded by the authorities when that message is put out. And they hold that car again. You heard it here first on the interview room for over 40 days. So she's also aware that her sister's house has been searched and evidence has been collected in that house. And you can clearly see that Savannah, in my opinion, is emotionally distraught, and she's at a place that she's never been in her life. You can see the pain in her countenance, you can feel it in her words, and you can sense it in her being.
And it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing.
That seems to be a theme, because today that was the theme of her messaging. It's never too late to do the right thing. At this point, she is 100% aware that the authorities had been looking very close to people within her circle. Now, I have said that there are times in people's lives where this cognitive dissonance, they just don't want to see what's in front of them. I didn't believe my son died. I couldn't grasp it. If I were Savannah in her shoes and mom had been taken, and then they impound my sister's car, search my sister's house, I wouldn't want to believe those things are taking place. But somebody wanted evidence somewhere in those environments. And so watch how this starts to play out, because she has a theme here. Do the right thing. And she's gone from talking to a suspect to personalizing her messaging. And I think today we're going to see that pretty clearly.
And we are here. We believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
That was said today as well.
But she needs to come home now.
Yes.
Someone needs to do the right thing. We are in agony.
Yeah.
We are in agony. It is unbearable. And to think of what she went through. I wake up every night, in the middle of the night, every night. And in the darkness, I imagine her terror. And it is unthinkable, but those thoughts demand to be thought. And I will not hide my face.
That is a really interesting statement. Why would Savannah Guthrie tell the world she will not hide her face? What do you guys think in the chat? Well, there's some pretty famous pictures out there of her family members coming down the driveway and pulling hoodies over their faces. I don't know. I don't know, but I thought that was a really odd choice of words.
But she needs to come home now.
Yes.
So he saw very clearly right away what this was. Yeah. And even on the phone, when I called him, he knew.
He knew.
And he said, I think she's been kidnapped for ransom. And I said,
Yeah.
what? Yeah. Well, why? What? And then, I mean, it sounds so like, how dumb could I be? But I didn't want to believe. I just said, do you think because of me? And he said, I'm sorry, sweetie, but yeah, maybe. But I knew that.
You did?
I hope not. I mean, we still don't know. Mm-hmm. Honestly, we don't know anything.
No.
We don't know anything. So I don't know that it's because she's my mom and somebody thought, oh, that girl, that lady has money, we can make a quick buck. I mean, that would make sense, but we don't know. But yeah, that's probably, which is too much to bear. To think that I brought this to her bedside. That it's because of me. And I just say, I'm so sorry, Mommy. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to my sister and my brother and my kids and my nephew and Tommy and my brother-in-law. I'm like, so sorry. I'm so sorry. If it is me, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
The ransom notes or ransom requests came. Did you believe those to be real?
There are a lot of different notes, I think, that came. And I think most of them, it's my understanding, are not real. And I didn't see them. But, you know, a person that would send a fake ransom note really has to look deeply at themselves.
Yeah.
To a family in pain. But I believe the 2 notes that we received, that we responded to, I tend to believe those are real.
Really? Mm-hmm. And Cam, when you got to their house, tell me about that moment.
Just disbelief and hugging each other. Yeah. And I think we were on the phone with the sheriff and trying to, you know, really make clear from the very early moments, you know, Annie and Tommy were saying, this isn't that case that you are used to where someone wanders off. She can't wander off. Mm-hmm. My mom, she was in tremendous pain. Yeah. Her back was very bad. You know, she was trying to, on a good day, she could walk down to the mailbox and get the mail, but most days not. So there was no wander off. And the doors were propped open. Yeah. And there was blood on the front doorstep. And the Ring camera had been yanked off.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to stop right there for a second. Because that statement right there is extremely revealing. The narrative was from Annie and Tommaso. And she just said it. Again. The narrative was the doors were propped open. The Nest camera is missing, i.e., the camera's gone. There's blood on the porch. She also is going to tell us that mom's in her pajamas. She's barefoot. And so let's just do a little math for a second. 911, what's your emergency? My mother's missing. All right. Deputy goes on the scene. There's blood on the porch. Doors are propped open. all of her items, her hearing aids, her shoes, her pajamas are missing. The Nest camera's missing. And by golly, we're going to tell you this is not a walkaway. There's no way. This is a walkaway. You guys don't understand. This is a walkaway. This is not a walkaway. Okay? And we were on the sheriff, i.e., she's on the phone with the sheriff at Annie and Tommaso's house, telling the sheriff, this is not a walkaway. You don't understand. This is not a walkaway. All of these other things are in front of you. So here's my question. Is the sheriff really that dumb?
Is this a trick question?
Could be. Where that, I don't think that first deputy who has the body camera is doing that same math. What do you say?
Gary?
We think that people who are tending to think in an Occam's razor kind of way, and appropriately so, don't go to a scene like this and expect it to be anything other than what they're being told. And they take a simplistic kind of interpretation. Now, if any of us had gone, the first thing we'd be thinking was something horrible happened, because we're biased to a hammer, everything's a nail, right? So I think it depends on what you're used to dealing with. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm the kind of person I could, go to a restaurant and hear a dish fall in the other room, and I'll say, murder most foul, because I'm expecting it. You know what I'm saying? But you get what I mean? I mean, they might have gone there and just not thought of the worst case scenario. You go with the simplest. But
well, that's where a search comes in.
That's where the search comes in. And there are things that make no sense to lead in that direction, like the blood, being on the porch and stuff like that.
Or the missing camera.
Or the missing camera, exactly.
Yeah, these are things that argue against it being a walkaway. And again,
of course,
this is a narrative being driven by your reporting parties. Yet we have another family member who has very clearly identified that Nancy Guthrie is largely physically incapable of moving any distance. So we have this sort of juxtapositioning of the story we're being told and what we see at the scene, and it just simply doesn't add up.
Well, we know it doesn't add up because they called homicide, and they believed it that night. So here is the Occam's razor. Here's the problem. It's not. They weren't believing what their eyes were seeing and what their ears were hearing. Whosoever hath eyes to see and ears to hear. The interpretations were different. One was driving a narrative, and the evidence at the scene was counter narrative to that being driven.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is reasonable to assume. Evident the fact that first deputy on the scene got on the radio and said, hey, we need to get everybody over here. And here's the irony. Savannah, in that statement, says she got to their house, to Annie's house, and they were on the phone convincing the sheriff that it's a walk away. So my question is, how long did it take her to fly from New York to Arizona? And Annie and Tommaso and the family are still on the phone trying to convince the sheriff. That's a problem. Why is anybody trying to convince anybody about the evidence that's at hand when the homicide folks are there working it? You don't need to convince them.
Well, why would you do an end run to go to the agency's head to insist on it's a walkaway when you already have
That
investigated.
it's not a walkway.
Exactly.
That's not a walkway.
Yeah, again, we're just having things that just don't add up.
It gets better because today's note's going to all of a sudden today's note is going to look like the 4th of July 250th anniversary again.
We were saying this is
Do something.
this is not okay.
Yeah.
This isn't, something is very wrong here.
Now, mind you, she's flown out from New York and is still trying to convince law enforcement, according to this statement, that there's no way this is a walkaway. And then she qualifies it.
Came together with all these beautiful gifts that came from our mom and dad and from God. And somehow together we did our best to come up with the words to say. And I haven't posted one thing or said one thing that the three of us haven't decided together.
So everything that went out on social media was crafted with the help of all three: Cameron, Annie, Savannah. Savannah qualified that by saying anything that's gone out is in unison with the whole group. Now that makes sense when the sheriff steps up to the podium and says, "Let me check my talking points from the family. I'm not good with scripts." In one of the very first press conferences. It'll make a lot of sense towards the end here today when she starts her message with, "I'm coming on today with a specific message."
It's surreal. It's, how is it possible that we are having to make a video speaking to a kidnapper who took an 84-year-old woman in the dead of night in her pajamas with no shoes, without her medicine? This little person. And to beg for mercy. Someone can do the right thing. And it is never too late to do the right thing.
That seems to be a theme in Savannah. Doc Gary, why is that a theme?
Well, you get the sense of somebody, and now let me be clear that this is just kind of speculative. I don't know her. But you get the sense of somebody with a very strong religious conviction who views the world in terms of what is right and what is wrong in a kind of spiritual and kind of interpersonal sense. And this idea that once you have done wrong, that there's still a chance to do what is right ultimately. To make amends, to say one is sorry, to fix the damage, that kind of thing. I mean, some people don't think that way, and some people do. But it seems to be a very upstanding, responsible, high-functioning person who has a moral compass that's strong, and that comes through. That just do the right thing, that kind of thing. Don't you guys pick that up? Somebody raised well, that kind of thing,
Somebody raised within that. What I notice is that I don't have the sense that she is talking to a mysterious kidnapper. She is talking to someone. And this appeal to do the right thing comes with a presumption that that person comes from the same sort of background you've just identified, Gary, because you wouldn't appeal to a complete stranger you have no idea of. I mean, unless, of course, this was an FBI talking point. But this sounds more in the nature of sharing just personal thoughts. But to basically suggest to someone to appeal to their better angels, to me signifies that she must have some sense that this person is capable of better angels. Which means, yeah, you see what I'm saying? We're not talking to a stranger. She's talking, she's created, perhaps in her mind, she has created this person, but she's not talking to just a, an unidentified Mr. X.
Well, you raise a very interesting point, because I am sure, I have no doubt, that Savannah and her family had spoken to profilers and experts who took a look at Porch Guy and gave opinions about him, and nobody worth his salt or her salt would describe that guy as having much of a moral compass. And the idea is that that is not a person that anyone would advise you, go on TV and say, listen to your better angel, come forward, do the right thing. No shot. No way. That's a person that, to appeal to them, you would talk pragmatically. Save your own.
You want the money? Yeah, we'll trade you the money for her.
Exactly. No feeling at all. I mean, this is like a psychopathic kind of a character. So, like somebody, or at least who has dabbled in that kind of thing. And the whole thing for that guy on the camera was pragmatic. That's why there's no feeling at all. Right? It's cool-headedness. It just doesn't care about her. And so what I think is that is meant for the real person behind the curtain. And the person who has the power to kind of do the right thing and say, here's where the body is. This is what really happened. Let me give you some closure. There was some emotion in here. I knew this woman and I had an issue with her, that kind of thing. But I don't think that anybody could possibly believe that message is for Porch Guy. No way.
Yeah. Exactly. So let's take a harder look at that. Let me play a little bit more of this.
Mm-hmm. And our hearts are focused on that.
Coming on today with the very...
Okay, so that's today, right? That's going to be the last one. But before we do that, let's take a hard look and let's do what we'll call a content comparison and a linguistics analysis on a couple of things. The notes, we're going to compare the purpose, which we're all talking about here, the claims, the tone, and the consistency. And we're going to compare the family statements together with today's statement. Welcome to the interview room if this is your first time here. This is what we do. In the middle, I have the first ransom note. And it claims Nancy was alive and scared. 4 to 6 million Bitcoin demand. There was a deadline, or there was a threat to take her life. There was also information about the scene details, the watch, the floodlight. The suspect was clear that saying there's no negotiation, and law enforcement, there's no way they're going to help you. In the second note, before the final deadline, that the claims of accidental death start to appear. And it was heart-related. She's buried in nature, and an apology of truly sorry. And no longer are there further ransom demands. That has all gone away.
Right. And to remind the audience, my psychological interpretation of the phrase heart-related is that it's an accidental revelation of an emotional motive.
Right.
Heart-related death. I think heart-related crime is probably closer to the truth.
Meaning?
There's a whiff of that in there. Yes, there's a double entendre, so to speak. and it's not conscious. I don't think it's conscious, but I pay very close attention to the BS stories that people tell. Remember, Chris, when I said on your show that I was fascinated by Koberger's alibi, that he was in the park looking at the stars, and I said,
yes,
of course he made that story up, because stars, like those victims, are something you study that's too far away to ever touch, and you know everything about them, but if you ever touch them, they'd destroy you. And he accidentally revealed everything by making that story up. And he did get up, by the way.
I remember you saying that.
Okay, well, you always pay attention to the BS stories people tell. They're fascinating because they're like Rorschach plates. And anyway, I was fascinated by that. It was heart related. Sure was.
And so that's a great segue into today's statement. And then I'm going to go back to the third column there real fast, because we're going to listen to this statement. This is she starts
It has been months since our mom was taken from us. Our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. We have done our part, and we will never stop looking for her. We will always ache for her and feel that hole in our hearts. The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you, to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing. Help us bring this situation to an end. For all of us, no matter where we've been and what we've done, I believe there is always a way home. Please make the right choice.
in that one. This is a public plea.
Yes.
It's an emotional appeal for help, but the focus is on the family and the agony of an ongoing search. There's a call to do the right thing. However, there's no financial demands, but there's a belief in a way home. The word "our" is used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. The personalization of mom and family is used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. References to right way, right thing now, you, right choice, us, right thing, us, for all of us, no matter where we've been and what we've done. I believe there is always a way home. It is her belief there is a way home, communicating with a subject from the first note in the middle who was coercive in a financial demand, who wanted to establish control and urgency immediately by threatening death if unpaid. They blocked all the negotiations to law enforcement, and they could not prove authenticity of their details at that moment, proof of life, anything. However, quickly in the second note, they change their tone. They explain and they justify an outcome. They shift the blame to health issues, and they offer a very limited apology. They wanted to close the living hostage frame, i.e., no proof of life, no hostage, no need to talk, and that is a deflection of their responsibility. That is in the second note. When we compare that with today, Savannah is trying to publicly appeal through an emotional aspect, seeking information and closure. She invites a moral choice to be made. She is sustaining what she believes to be a public search. Yet there has been no evidence of anybody searching for Nancy Guthrie. In fact, I've been to Tucson. There's not even a poster 0.5 miles away from her home. And that means there's no transactional language taking place, meaning nobody's doing anything. Nothing is moving. So what is the purpose and the stance between the first, the second, and now today's conversation? Well, let's look a little bit deeper. The aspect ratio, meaning when we talk about behavior analysis, the first question is she alive? What did the first note say? Yes, she's safe, but she's scared. What did the second note say? No, she's already dead. What does today's statement say? She's treating it as if she's still missing and that there's a search continuing. The search is emotional in nature, not physical. She's searching for her body. It is much easier to find a car than it is a body. And so what's the cause and the fate aspect of this? The first note, she will be killed if if this ransom is not paid and there's a deadline. In the second note, it says, well, she died because of a heart-related incident and she's buried in nature. The family statement today from Savannah, this is a nightmare. It's ongoing because we don't know. But that we started at the top in a singular messaging from Savannah to where she says, I'm coming on today. After knowing that they do things collectively. She said, my sister, my brother, and I do everything together. But today, she says, I believe there is always a way home. Do the other family members not have the same belief? Because she separated herself in this statement to a singular. And she starts it with, I'm coming on today. Where are the others? In such a significant time where this is a nightmare and the cause and fate is unknown and it's ongoing. So now we go into the moral agency or the agency of those who would be deciding to write these notes. In the first note, that agency is shifted to Savannah. Her life is in your hands. In the second note, nothing the family did could have changed the outcome. Today, the family will never stop looking. And the third is the time frame of urgency. In the first note, she will be held a maximum of 7 days and released after 12 hours. In the second note, she died shortly after she was taken. Today, months later, 7 months later, it's still unresolved. They're looking for her body. Thoughts?
Well, I've been saying for some time now that I don't believe, if these notes are real, if these two notes are real, as Savannah believes, you can see very clearly when you lay it out like this what I mean when I say that two completely different psychologies are at work here. The psychology of the person who sent the first note is very pragmatic. It doesn't matter if she's really alive. We're going to say that she is because ultimately we want money. We don't really care if you're upset, if you think you had anything to do with it. The reality is, like, you better get your act together or some terrible thing is going to happen, etc. The attitude of the second author is one of having some kind of intact, or at least a whiff of either sympathy or fear for the self, for getting in trouble, and going out of one's way, probably even incurring a risk, to say to Savannah, there's nothing you could have done. At least, she's with nature now. It was her heart. It wasn't you. That kind of thing, right? And I think the fact that a risk was incurred in sending it shows that the author of the second note in some way cares about Savannah, has some feeling for her, whereas the person who wrote the first note doesn't. And I also think the language of the notes is very interesting, because the language in the first note sounds like someone who doesn't speak English necessarily as a first language and might have even used some kind of device, whereas the second is fluid to the point of being poetic, which is also interesting. And I have said all along, I think the first was written by a male who was trying to get away with a crime, and the second was written by a woman who probably pissed off the guy by sending this note because it was risky and it was too unnecessary and things like that. And that is why I said that when these notes were written, an astute observer would have suggested to the family, go on television and make an appeal to the author of the second note, because there's a split going on between that author and the first author. Exploit it. And say to that person, I think you're feeling something. I think you're feeling guilty. Do the right thing. Sounds an awful lot like what was said today, which almost makes me wonder if people have finally gotten the hint that there's a fragmentation between these two characters if these notes are real. And they need that second person to throw that first person under the bus.
Yeah.
Get
John?
what I'm saying?
Oh, I hear you. Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I
John?
think that the most important phrase in today's statement was, I know you've tried to do the right thing. How would you know that unless you know the person? Because that's a supposition beyond rational thinking. You looked into the camera and said, I know you've tried to do the right thing. And that would tell me that Savannah, again, she is not talking to some unidentified sort of anonymous suspect. She's talking to someone that she feels that she can make an emotional impact on, to reason with. And then the ending of, and then you can come home. What a strange thing to say to someone who has abducted your mother. and then you can come home. Then you can come to a place of safety, and you can, dare I say it, rejoin the rest of the human race. Yeah, that's what struck me the moment that she said that. And I mean, yeah, we can take note of the fact that she says we're still searching, but I haven't seen any evidence of searching. That doesn't mean it isn't occurring. But perhaps the searching she's referring to is internal thought on her part, that she is still searching for motives, searching for reasons. But yeah, when you tell someone, I know you've tried to do the right thing, there's more at work here than just a generic statement attempting to manipulate the emotions of an offender.
Well, it's not an uncommon thing to say to somebody that you're trying to get to confess. I'm sure that but both of you are aware that that's a line you could use with a person when you're trying to make them feel safe and understood, so that they'll tell you what really happened. If you have two people who committed a crime, let's say, and one of them was the brains of the operation, the psychopath, and the other one went along for some emotional reason or was confused or abused or something like that, you would isolate them and you'd say, look, I think in your heart, in a strange way, like, I think there's a goodness in there, and you got caught up with somebody doing some dark stuff here. Like, you got to understand this person doesn't care about you. I don't think you're the monster here. Like, you've got some good inside of you, And I feel like the idea is to get that person to understand that ultimately the only way to achieve a kind of a redemption is to just come clean. I mean, that message of, come home, or whatever, it sounds like you're talking to the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Come home, my arms will be open. I'll kill the fatted calf and put the rings on your fingers and the shoes on you. You get what I'm saying? It has the flavor of a prodigal son story. And so what I think is that she's appealing to the morality of the less monstrous person in this group. And I think that whoever suggested she do that, if she didn't think of it herself, was astute.
Yes.
Because I'm telling you, somebody in that group is going to throw the rest under the bus. And they could also get Porch Guy and get him to do the same thing. But at this point, I mean, I don't know where Porch Guy is, and I think this is so. It just seems to me that it was a smart move, but it should have been done a long time ago when these notes were written.
I don't know why it's done 5 years ago.
Well, it's because now the notes have been released into the ether, and experts are talking about it all over the place, and people are going, "Hey, let's try that," that kind of thing. It's possible, or it's just, has nothing to do with that. It's just a coincidence.
Well, that's why
it was smart.
That's why this slide here, to what you both are talking about, and to dovetail, is perfect, because the tone and the language has shifted in 3 different directions. And that is usually not something you see with a career criminal. I mean, we've all sat across career criminals, and they don't think like this. They don't think in the first ransom note, or they do think in the first ransom note like a cold, directive, high pressure type of individual. In the very first ransom note, it's directed directly at Savannah. So it's an attention getter. There are absolute statements of threats in that first ransom note, in the tone and the language. The logistics of those threats are there's going to be deadlines, there's going to be a drop-off, and there's going to be Bitcoin paid. You're going to follow my directives. And then there's also going to be details from the scene, the watch, the light, of some type of proof that this is the right guy or gal or person. And that they shut off any further contact, i.e. one and done. You get one. But then when we look at the second note as it comes in, to Gary's thought, and John, yours as well, it's more defensive. It's a lot softer. And it's an exploratory. I mean, I need to explain what's going on here. And this is a first person to add the plural of regret, meaning we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical conditions. This person introduces a medical speculation of a heart issue. And then they use crazy, silted phrasing such as she's buried in nature now.
She perished.
And she perished. But here's the most interesting one. There's a blanket disclaimer of family blame. There's nothing you could have done. She is giving a mulligan. Whoever wrote this to the family. Oh, you didn't pay the $6 million? It doesn't matter. So it's an apology.
Yeah.
It's an apology without a new demand.
Mm.
You want your mother's body?
There
Great.
you go.
It's $10 million.
Right. But,
who does that?
But people don't incur risk for no reason. There is a risk in sending a second message from the same place, and it had to be the same place. That's why they believe it.
This is guilt.
Well, so I'm saying it's some emotion drove this person to incur risk, either care or fear of getting in trouble or guilt, one of those emotions. But the fact is, sending a second message from the same place, and it had to be from the same place or they wouldn't have believed they were linked. Sending a message from this was a boneheaded move that probably infuriated the author of the first note. Because the more you send, the more dangerous, unless I'm wrong, the more you're sending, the more dangerous. And I think that would have come across to the first person as a betrayal. And very dangerous. You don't know who's watching. This is the highest profile case in the country right now, arguably. So I think that the emotion was so strong that the person couldn't resist sending that message.
Well, I agree with you. This person,
yes,
this person who wrote the second note is dying from guilt
or fear.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's a combo, but more so from their conscience.
Yeah, and that's not Porch Guy.
And this is why today's
right. Yeah.
This is why today's statement from Savannah is collective. We, our. There's moral language in her statement today. Do the right thing. There is a way home, like John was talking about.
Right.
I know you've tried to do things the right way.
The right way. Can I ask a question, Gary?
Sure.
The blanket disclaimer of family blame, could that be, and how do I phrase this? A request for self-absolution?
Well, let me hear the line.
Well, when they say there's nothing you could have done. And the you, as I understand it, in this instance, would have been plural to the family.
Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome.
Right. I think that person is bothered by Savannah thinking that she had anything to do with it, which again has the implication of emotion. It's a kind of unnecessary extra. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a only goodness gives extras. You wouldn't do an extra like that unless you're feeling something in your heart that is caring toward the individual. An evil person takes everything away. That's a giving. And it seems to me that what's going on here is that this person, as opposed to first note writer, has a little part of them that's very sensitive, perhaps even empathic. And the other person, Savannah, excuse me, is appealing to it.
Yeah.
And is saying, there's right and there's wrong. There's good and there's evil. You really did a terrible thing. Throw yourself on the mercy of goodness.
Which again suggests this is not an anonymous entity she's talking to.
No, it's somebody she knows.
She believes she's speaking to somebody she knows.
Well, it certainly means that she at least assumes that person had a sense of right and wrong, a moral compass that could be appealed to. And
well,
I think
she's measuring herself against that person in an emotional appeal of repetitiveness. She keeps saying, "Do the right thing," and meaning it's kind of like, right, when you get a suspect who, let's say, has taken their I don't know, a family member's life, and you're talking to them and you lean over and you touch their knee and you say, "Tell me about your mom." And they can tell you all day long, because that's not who you're interested in. You're interested in the guy's brother. And then as you're going through this confession process, you finally get to the point of, "Tell me about your mother and your brother's relationship. How did you see that?" And in this, what I hear Savannah doing today is she believes that this person is very vulnerable right now.
I think so too.
Yes.
And because she's given an open invitation, like we've been talking about here, to do the right thing. There's no accusations, there's or demands. She's just asking her, just please, I've seen you do this before, it sounds like, to John's point. So I'm asking you, I'm begging you to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. It's almost like two people grew up and said, "You better not do that, Mom. You're going to get in trouble from Mom or Dad." Yeah, no, I'm telling on you. I don't know.
She's not speaking to a stranger. She's
No.
not speaking to some sort of profile the FBI has come up with. She's speaking to a person. I'm not saying that objectively that is actually the offender, but she believes she is speaking to a person that she knows. And this appeal will have an impact.
And look at the next line here. She wants to walk hand in hand into the principal's office. Help us bring this situation to an end.
You know what it makes me think of? Just to come back to my point about the prodigal
You're
son.
the shrink. You need to tell us.
Right. It reminds me of the line from the prodigal son narrative. When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I'll set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father." The point is, it's that moment where you go, what am I thinking? And that's what you're appealing to. You're appealing to the person and go, "Isn't this dumb? You got nothing. You're eating pig husks. Come home." See? You're appealing to the person to realize that sin has led to nothing but destruction. This is a moral Christian kind of attitude.
Yeah.
Of, you're in the darkness. Don't you see that? Do the right thing. And that is not an appeal you would make to that awful person who wrote the first note, and certainly not an appeal you'd make to Porch Guy. It's an appeal you'd make to someone who is a lost sheep.
Exactly. That's why I think this slide right here is so
We agree,
important.
right?
Oh yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Oh,
Yeah,
And this
you're
is
on
and this
target.
is appeal to someone who shares a similar spiritual ethos.
Oh,
Because
yes.
you couldn't do this. This is, yeah. So they have
And not a
congruent
bad
beliefs.
spiritual ethos to be in. I mean, it just so
Yep.
happens to be probably the greatest wisdom the world's ever had. So it's not a bad ethos to be in, because I'll tell you,
Exactly.
a lot of people are prodigal sons. And I think that is a very different character than that's low on the scale Michael and I write about, right? Not the psychopath at the top that's unredeemable.
The ne'er-do-well.
Yeah, big difference. And don't you
That's
think that the second person might be a little afraid of the first person?
If
yes.
they have any brains.
I think the first person delivered it, made it happen, and passed her off. Now it's your problem. And I think the second person has some of the tendency as the first person and could have written the first note. I don't see Porch Guy as the first note writer.
Oh, Porch Guy might not even know his ABCs.
Right. So
Porch
I
guy would
see
write a note with crayon.
it's kind of like when somebody's kidnapped, and there's a who will I use? Patty Hearst.
Oof. What a story that was.
Right. But she became the comforter during the robberies. She became the one that would sit with the women and say, it's okay. We're not going to hurt you. Yet she was a hostage herself, holding a machine gun. And I see the first guy passing Nancy off to a driver in the car, the driver taking her to second note writer, and driver / potentially the person writes the first note, because in that first note claim, again, this is important because they lose all the leverage of a living hostage. Okay. Nancy is alive. She will be released unharmed if paid, or killed if the final deadline is missed. That's a very specific problem. In fact, we used to try to not even bring it up, right, John? In a hostage
Exactly, with
negotiation
negotiations,
situation.
don't bring that up.
Just
Let me
let
ask
it
you a
go
question,
by.
Chris.
Yeah.
Since we are in agreement, we have been from the outset that this was not a kidnapping. Who do you think came up with the idea to turn this into a money-making operation? Was this an afterthought, or was this part of the original plan? What do you think?
I think it was the original plan.
So do I.
But money's part of it. And in order to get people to do it, you had to appeal to their motives.
Right.
Yes.
You've got to pay the employees.
Yeah. So if you need money, money it is. Drugs it is. An emotional thing, I prey on that. But the brains of the operation almost demonically preyed upon the emotions and needs of the other people in the cabal. Somewhere in the nest is a rat.
And I think the pre-incident behavior is a clear indication of that, because
sure,
if it's just to intimidate, Savannah or anything to that effect, well, that's a lot harder, if almost impossible. That sounds like somebody who's been in an office all their life versus been on the street in reality. You don't go to dope dealers or get people to say, hey, would you do me a favor? Yeah. Would you intimidate Savannah Guthrie by kidnapping her mother for me? Well, that's a great idea. What do I get out of it? Well, you get to be the talk of the world for about 7 months. And when they catch you, you can look like an idiot, like they did the guy in Hawthorne. Oh, wow. So whoever the brain surgeon that came up with that one needs to, whatever. going back to the second note claim, again, it gets a lot softer. Already died after shortly being taken. It was heart related. Payment timing is irrelevant. So all of the things in the first note just go away instantly. So I think they realized the second note person, she was looking at a dead body. And they have now a container problem, not being cold, but now they have a 150-pound bag of concrete. What do they do with it? And it was overwhelming for the second note for the second person who wrote this note. It was emotionally overwhelming. And that's what this, I think, is reflecting, because the timing of the payment is no longer, it's irrelevant. Nothing the family could have done. It's irrelevant. When everything was pressure to get it done. So it changed that quickly.
The second person, whoever wrote that second note, saw some things that haunted them. The first person has an almost alien consciousness that could dissociate from it, like a scientist cutting up a frog. But the person who wrote that second note, I think reality slipped in, and I think that's why I think that's a more emotionally attacked person, probably emotionally immature, vulnerable, able to compartmentalize a little bit, that kind of thing. But in the final analysis, I think is reflecting fear and guilt and emotion and everything else. And Chris, don't you think? I mean, it has a whiff of feeling.
Yeah, it has a whiff of feeling, and that's why I'm not one to buy into we're going to just torture Savannah. That's the MO here is, okay, well, why are we going to break into the house and steal her mother and take her out, beaten up? Well, that's a good idea, because Savannah will really suffer as a result of that.
Well, that hypothesis was put forward when I did the program with Ann Burgess and Casey Jordan, Doctors Burgess and Jordan, up in Massachusetts, and that was the hypothesis that Doctors Burgess and Jordan had, that it was partial motive of now. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, these are brilliant people. It's just we all have differences in the way we see things. But I don't think so. I don't see that. It's certainly possible. I can't argue, but I agree with you that I don't think that was part of the story. I think the person of the second note didn't like that she blamed herself.
Yeah, I mean, the other, collateral damage here nobody's thinking or talking about. I, again, will be the first on YouTube to talk about it. Make sure that Brian Enton doesn't keep stealing my ideas and saying they're his. Okay. The grandchildren. Savannah has children. So does Annie. Are we to presuppose that the suspect wanted to torture everybody in the family or just Savannah? You see, that hypothesis doesn't make any sense, because the collateral damage will be the grandchildren who are suffering this very moment. And Savannah has made that clear. It's been months since our mom was taken. Our family is in agony.
Yeah.
She goes home every single night to her children, and her children say, "Mommy, did they find Grandma?" "No, dear. They haven't found her yet." Is that the hypothesis we're going to run on, that the suspect thought through this and really knew, well, one way to really torture Savannah is to torture everybody around her? No, this is a singular event to her stardom. And stalkers don't operate that way. Evident of the fact that, when they shot John Lennon, it was over. It was over. In this situation, this person knew that there had to be something that came out of it. And if we look at what was issued today, this statement today registers on a lot of different levels. Number one, there's this idea that there's some type of sustained search, meaning they're refusing to treat this case as being closed, emphasizing the ongoing agony and commitment to keep looking. Yet it's an oxymoron because nobody's searching. The law enforcement is working on it, but nobody other than a spokesperson is doing anything. And so that goes to number two. There's a pretext of pushing it out to a moral invitation, appealing to some type of conscience. Do the right thing. There's a way home. Rather than engaging any financial or death claims directly, meaning, well, do you want anything for her body? Can I give you $500,000 to tell us where she is? 1.2 million hasn't worked. And there's usually a reason for that. And it's not torturing somebody mentally, emotionally, or physically. It's because it's closer to the environment potential. And so that leads to number three. What's the public framing of it? Well, it models there's a continuing searching and an openness while avoiding confrontation or denial of notes and any specific, anything they asserted. This is what we want, which keeps number four in play. Keeps the focus on family pain and desire for resolution for all of us, regardless of the past actions, like John said. As you know, you have tried to do things the right way. That is a really interesting selection of words.
I think quite clever.
And you can betcha it was chosen because they know that you sharpen those pivotal notes, you get the authentic markers, and you get a language shift.
Right.
You frame them into the family, and that takes away the unresolved contradictions. So let's do a real fast linguistics analysis.
Wait, Chris, can I just
Go
say
ahead,
something?
I'm listening.
So this point that to take the risk to write the second note, presuming we're right that it's by a second author, and I really think it is, that it would require some degree of emotion that couldn't be contained. That is an extremely important chink in the armor, because it means that that same liability in the individual could be exploited. When you know your enemy, so to speak, has a fault, you exploit it. For example, the famous story is told about Vladimir Putin when he met with Angela Merkel, that he did some research on her and found out that she was terrified of dogs. So he had a huge dog sitting next to him when he met with her once for a negotiation, because he knew it would scare the crap out of her and he'd get her to be vulnerable. You know, he wasn't KGB for no reason, right? So the idea is that it is a vulnerability in that individual that they cannot contain their emotion. So you have to push against it to get them to crack again. Push and push and push. It's sort of like if you're dealing with a nervous character, you say, I'll wait in the room with you silently while you think about whether you want to tell me the truth. And as you're sitting there, you drum your fingers to sound like a clock ticking, right? Or you do something and eventually the nervousness builds. And fine, I'll tell you. You get what I'm saying? Haven't you done things like that where you?
Yeah, it's the oldest trick in the book.
Right.
You used to walk in. We used to walk in with what, like 6-inch binders, John? And and it would be loaded with looks like paperwork. Okay.
Right.
And probably the first 10 pages were an actual report. And you walk into the room and you drop it on the table and it sounds like a bowling ball
Yep.
hitting the table. And then you tap it and you say, "Would you like some water?" Sure. As you can tell, we've been doing a lot of work. I'll be right back. And you walk out.
Mhm.
It's the oldest trick in the book. And you run into the monitoring room and you watch the suspect lean over, listening to everything going on outside, and lift the binder up to see what he can see in the book and then put it back down. And then you walk in and you say, "You know what, dang it, I forgot something. I'll be right back." You walk out again. It's not rocket science. It's like you're talking about. It's human behavior. I mean, and when you work homicide, and when you work, as a detective, you do this all day,
Mm-hmm.
all day.
Yeah.
Don't
You learn
believe
to
me.
dance people like marionettes.
Tell them about door number 1, 2, or 3, John. This is one of the best stories. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I don't know if is this in one of your books, Johnny?
Actually, it's in the book that was just released today.
Oh.
And very briefly,
Bring out your dead. You're going to read this story. Go ahead.
this is was a homicide that occurred. The victim was stabbed 17 times and had his throat open from ear to ear, so much so that I could look and see the knife scoring marks between vertebrae. Very nearly decapitated him. And we eventually had the suspect brought in, and we had recovered a bloody knife. And as we're talking, and as Chris said, you talk about all sorts of things. He was from New Jersey, and he said, well, what do you do for a living? And he said, well, I was a meat cutter.
He was a butcher.
So I said, and we found a knife. He goes, well, that's because I'm a meat cutter. And I said, I know you're a butcher. I saw your handiwork earlier this morning. And then you go right away again. But as you're talking, one of the other methods we do is we offer rationalizations and we offer options, which is part of what both you and Gary are saying, which was this fellow was lying and denying and literally digging himself in deeper. And I just finally said to him, Michael, stop and listen to me. Did you ever used to watch the show Let's Make a Deal? And he says, well, yeah. And I said, okay, I'm Monty. Call me Monty Hall, he was the first host of Let's Make a Deal.
Right.
And I said, and I'm about to present you with 2 doors. I said, now here's door number 1. You're a poor guy down on your luck. You show up in Oceanside. You haven't eaten in a day. And this guy invites you, pretending to be an angel of mercy. He invites you to his home. And as it turns out, he's not an angel of mercy. He attacks you. And in a panic, he has foisted a drink on you. And in a panic, you kill him. I said, and then you're so frightened and terrified by what's happened, you jump in his car and drive away. You aren't thinking. So now that, my friend, is second-degree murder. 17 to life. That's not good. However, let's go to door number 1. You are the evil predator, not your victim, not this guy. You've come and you've tricked this guy into taking him to your home. And you end up killing him and stealing his car, which is murder in the commission of a robbery. So that's felony murder, which leaves you with a big question. How long can you hold your breath? And he looks at me like, what do you mean? How long can I hold my breath? And I said, Mike, that's gas chamber time. I said, so what's it going to be? Door 1 or door 2? And he goes, this is door 2. And, and then confess to the crime. but we learn how to offer people options, and sometimes the injection of a little fear, uh, reality works.
And that's
So yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great story. You're going to read deeper about it in his book, but that's why we look at the overall style of this, the totality of this whole thing. The first letter is formal, or note, excuse me. It's clear. There's a structure. It's concrete. It's confident, controlled tone, complex sentences, very minimal. And it's focused on logistics and deadlines, getting things done. In the second, it's much softer. It's explanatory and apologetic. Shorter, abstract, etc. You guys can read it. If we look at the pronouns and the voice of the messaging, I talked to Karen about this, who's a professional writer. That's what she does. I said both notes use dominant we, which suggests a group. It inflates numbers or creates a distance. Is it true? We don't know. But it would be more logical that there's more than one, because you have to control her. You have to take her away from there. If there's only one person, you got to get in the house. You've got to package her up. You've got to drive her out. And then you've got to take her somewhere and contain her alive. At first, remember, she was alive, so that means you have to control her. And so a one individual doesn't make sense. I tend to think that the suspect may be more than one, in my personal opinion. I hope I'm wrong. Because the first note uses also a second person addressed to Savannah, and then one singular, me. So it's a combination play. The second note states firmly plural, but they avoid the direct command. You will no longer, etc. Right? So collectively, there's a word shift in the first note. Concrete and coercive in nature. Held, released, killed, no negotiations. In the second note, it's abstract and it's distancing. Perished, buried in nature, never intended. That's more heart-related. Okay. Profilers note that abstract and poetic language often serve to create psychological distance from a violent act and reduced perceived guilt. Okay. What is the word syntax means, the wording of it. How is it styled? Okay. In the first note, it's well-formed. Okay. Medium length sentences, clear, conditional, and cause and effect. Directives front, right to the emphasis, get on it, which is very consistent with somebody who is engaged in a criminal activity for a hostage situation or a kidnapping. They are right to it.
All business.
All business, 100%. It's much more efficient. It's calm, and the terms are made, but it's tied together with threats and authenticity of those threats. The second note is shorter. Simple declarative sentences, heavy use of negatives and denials. The sequence, there's a knowledge gap, an intent to deny, a death claim, but there's a medical hedge within that death claim, i.e. they're buying a mulligan. There's a burial claim, which takes them away from that problem, an absolution that takes them away. This will be the person when you're sitting in the interview room that's going to go, look, I didn't do it. Okay, well, who did? Well, I don't want to say. Well, unfortunately, you got a problem here. We need to talk about this. Okay. And then, of course, the unusual framing of this and the unusual phrasing that's even used. buried in nature. What the heck does that mean? Right? Perished shortly after she was taken. That has a literary register to it as sounding, right? And Gary's talked about that. You've talked about that at length here. All I did was narrow it down here to bullet points. And what are the possible translations, tools of a non-native writer? This is a person that may have written this note to try to make it sound like they're not an actual writer. Okay, to try to pull themselves away. So they could have used AI, they could have used a tool of some sort, okay? Or they're trying to deliberately, stylistically disguise their capability of writing. So, the feature, the primary speech act in the first note, demand and threat. Second is an explanation, an apology, and closure. The power, the very first note, the writer asserts control. The second note, the writer manages a narrative and expresses and shows through their writing potential guilt. What's the strategy? Supplies variable details in the first note to an end. What's the end? They wanted money. Bitcoin specifically, $4 or $6 million. The reason they put that strategy into play is because they wanted that. That was their goal. And they supplied the details within the note to prove it. In the second note, that strategy fell apart. And it turns into a speculation that she died from a heart attack or at least heart issues. And that, however, they pull themselves away again, back. They step back into a burial claim. So what's the emotional stance in this? The first note is very cold. Absolute. You will do. The second is much more softer, much more defensive. And so that leads us to the very last piece of this is a negotiation stance. There is no negotiation in the first note. It's explicitly closed. And you won't even get the law enforcement involved. They can't help you. What's the second note? Closed. Effectively closed. One was explicit. The second was effective. That is two personality types.
Yeah.
So what are the takeaways? The registered shift is drastic. From confidence, coercive demand language to softening, abstract, apologetic explanation. We creates a collective identity. Consistent plural voice may signal multiple actors or an attempt to distance individual responsibility. Abstract language and distancing device, buried in nature. She perished, never intended. Reduced directness and may sever guilt management. So they're trying to separate themselves, like Gary's point earlier, the prodigal son. Possible non-narrative or native or meditated writing, meaning tools, unusual collections and slightly literal phrasing have been noted as potential translation or second language markers, meaning people have run this through AI and AI has said, well, we're not sure what this is. It could be, somebody using a tool, a translation tool. So that opens up this rabbit hole of chasing down Mexico or a third world country, etc. What would be really interesting is to look for a linguistic footprint and fingerprint. Well, guess who's done that? I wonder, because that can help test whether the later communications share the same sequence or sourcing, i.e., if you've written a book, you can measure it against that style within the book.
Mhm.
Thoughts?
Think that in appealing to the emotionality that is evident in the second note writer, they're finally getting to the kind of clever technique that will draw out whoever did this. That's the kind of game you have to play. And it's an old trick, but it works.
I love it. All right.
Am I wrong? Don't you guys think? Let's just say it could just be that's where Savannah is emotionally, of course. But let's just say that if she had been consulted by an expert, she couldn't have done a better job with what she said. Because the expert would have encouraged her to say just that. Unfortunately, it's being said now. And it should have been said back when these notes were first written, when there was a fresh fracture. Now everybody's laying low and learning that they're not getting arrested. See, that's why, if I were consulting on this, I would have also suggested you say, we also know you did it.
Mm-hmm.
We know more than you think we do. We're just watching you. We're giving you enough rope to hang yourself.
You need to begin chumming for those who are fishermen. You need to begin throwing fish guts in the water.
Well, it's probably true that they've got their eye on something.
Yeah, it probably
and they
is
should
true.
say so. They should say so because you have to scare the crap out of people. It's very important. All you've got to do is make one wrong move, and then we'll have you.
You know what? A lot of people have not addressed, even to this day, why the car was held for 40 days. Now, I saw that. It's actually a red poppy.
Yep.
And it was from I did a search on it. The flowers are red poppy.
Where is there a red poppy?
Well, you can't see it on the video, but the red poppy signifies it's used in Britain. They sell these artificial red poppies to support veterans, wounded veteran organizations. The red poppy is used to signify military personnel who died in combat. You see them a lot. Remembrance Day, which we would call Veterans Day here on November the 11th. They call it the Red Poppy Appeal. So,
well, as a
yeah, it's a T-shirt that was purchased on eBay, and then hang on, I'll tell you where you can get it.
But I'll tell you that just because of Slav art in the audience is saying they were surprised I don't know about this. So I happen to know that after the First World War, when Europe was all torn up, the convention at the time was to plant red poppies to cover up destroyed land after the war, and it became symbolic of this kind of renewal and to remember the sacrifice. So it sounds like it emerged into what you're talking about. I know, but that was the thing to
Flanders.
Yes, right. To cover the destroyed field up with poppies to remember the bloodshed there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised they don't do that on Civil War battlefields. It would be quite beautiful and moving, I think. But anyway, so Chris, how does that figure into this story? Where are the red poppies coming in?
Well, she was wearing a shirt today that had
who was she?
Annie, or excuse me, Savannah.
We are standing on scorched earth.
So it was a white crew neck T-shirt embroidered with a red poppy flower on the chest, and from Rag and Bone Poppy Flower Tea is the name of the item, and you can buy it at Poshmark, resale listings, with those tags, or Rag and Bone's own site, and also on eBay. Rag and Bone Poppy Flower Tea White Shirt, medium and type.
Yeah.
And it's let me.
But doesn't it remind you of the line from the card about the scorched earth and the ash? That's exactly where you would plant red poppies after a war. That was the whole point, to bring them back to life. The symbolism being it's not scorched. There can be life again. That kind of thing. And very, very interesting. I mean, I'm sure that wasn't the significance, but it's sort of a fascinating little.
There it is.
Oh.
What do you think?
Symbol of hope. I mean, flowers are also sometimes spiritually symbols of resurrection, something going in the earth and then being born into something else, that kind of thing. It can have all kinds of meanings, but I'm sure there's a spiritual, kind of symbolism.
Everybody's saying it's a carnation.
Okay.
Doesn't look like a poppy. I mean, I'm like a de facto botanist, and it doesn't look like a poppy to me, but could be.
Well, some say it's a poppy.
A bad depiction of a poppy.
Says it's a poppy, and mini carnation. There's a ton of.
But it would be badly depicted because the stem is wrong.
The great thing about the internet, right here,
the stem is wrong for a poppy. So I'm not really sure. But it could be just badly depicted. You know what I mean?
Right. I don't know what it is. It's a shirt with a red flower on it.
Flower.
Yeah, it's a red flower on it, and
you're safe calling it a flower.
All right, we've got a lot of comments. They're not questions, just comments. Let's see here. Poppies, opium, and Wizard of Oz. Which use them? Dorothy, to sleep.
Surrender, Dorothy.
Practice of Wickham. Late to class, take my seat. We appreciate you being here. The first note, she seems like she's trying to placate whoever took Nancy, kind of like you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Totally agree. Totally agree. Thank you. Please reach out. Thank you. Random. I got to be honest with you. I get probably 5,000 to 6,000 emails a week. I cannot reach out to anybody with that type of volume. I don't have the bandwidth.
Wow.
And I probably get on Proton at least 4,000 or 5,000. And then the info at the interview room, at least probably another 2,000. That's like 6,000 emails a week. I'm sorry, I cannot answer all your emails. I'd love to. I absolutely 100% would love to. I just don't have the bandwidth. Okay. I watch YouTube like other channels and stuff, and that's, probably about as far as I can get. But thank you for your invitation to reach out to somebody. I really appreciate it. In all sincerity. And thank you to our new members. We sure appreciate you folks jumping in. I'm here for Buddy and Nanos recording. I know, right? By the way, keep those emails coming up to the AG's office. We hear they got pounded today, which is a great thing. Thank you for subbing and subscribing. We're not far away from our next, level here. John, while I'm going through some of these, and Gary, tell everybody about those folks that maybe new here. There are 12,000 people right now watching.
That's wonderful.
Where can they get your books?
Well,
Well, you go first, Jerry.
before we turn to that, are we going to talk at all about Koberger? Because the audience wants us to.
Well, I want to save that for another show. Because I want to get a little more info on him on that one. But you can go ahead. I mean, Gary, you can weigh in real fast, but I don't want to turn this into 3 hours. I just want it to stay at 2 hours tonight.
There's one thing that I have to say that I'm fascinated by, but I know it's a coincidence, okay? But that story of Koberger, wanting to overturn everything or whatever, and I know that he wrote it on the 22nd, but it was released today. It's very interesting because today is the anniversary of Ted Bundy being charged for the Chi Omega murders. July 27th, 1978. Look it up. I bet I'm right. And that's very interesting. There are these strange echoes of Bundy throughout that case over and over and over and over, and I never think it is without some significance. Because Bundy wound up defending himself and used that as the excuse to go to, oh, look, we got a BK is innocent in the audience. Oink. Yep, I'm sure he is. But he confessed. Okay, but remember what Bundy did? To defend himself, he had to go to the library to study, from which he escaped. And I have always said about Koberger, be careful. If I'm right about his mimicking of Bundy, I still think he was mimicking Bundy, at least in part. It's very dangerous to, ever put him in a position where he could slip away. And I hope he will
tell him that. What was your theory about what he's doing right now? Why he's doing it?
Well, as I'm saying, I think I just can't help myself but think to a certain extent he always seems to be mimicking Bundy a little bit. I think even the park Wawawee, where he claimed he was, where I still think he may have been thinking about taking a victim, was the site of what was thought to be a Bundy murder. Joy Page. They asked Bundy about that murder at the time they executed him, and he wouldn't cop to it. It would have been a very early one from Pullman in Washington, by the way. And it's just a coincidence that that's where he said he was, right? And, the park where Bundy would have taken a victim to do whatever he did and then kill her and leave her there, right? So one has to wonder if that was the point. Go in the middle of the night, blitz the victim, take her to the park, do whatever you're going to do, but it all got interrupted and turned into a mass murder. So part of me wonders about that, and I wonder if even this, all of this, it just sounds too Bundy-like. I'm going to defend myself, and I'm going to prove my innocence, or whatever. I just think it's that same manipulation of the public, the narcissism. I'm smarter than anybody. I'm going to slip away. And I just think, even to take seriously this idea. I mean, I understand we have to allow him an opportunity, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, the man confessed. He confessed. What is he going to do now? He's going to say he was coerced into confessing? Is that the idea?
Yeah, ineffective counsel. Well, we said it. We said he wasn't done.
Of course.
He just started. Well, now that all he does is sit in jail, he's got all kinds of time.
Nobody's paying attention to him anymore. He's got these pesky other cases that are taking up all the time, and now he sticks himself. Remember when Dennis Rader kept putting himself in the news because he didn't like that everybody was talking about Koberger? That's what these people do. So now we gotta talk about this guy again. And I think what they need to do is just stop talking about it. And what about these poor families? I mean, they can't just let this rest. I mean, it's like,
well, look at all the secondary books that have come out now.
I mean, look, the fact is that people are going to talk about that case even from a perspective of study. At some point, Koberger becomes just another criminal that you need to understand. But so it's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to aggrandize him. You know what I mean? But like all offenders, he's got to eventually be written about because people have to understand him. What created him? Had that monstrous stuff happen? But, look, I'm just frustrated about it because it just feels like somebody who is manipulating everybody all the time. And doesn't it feel that way to you guys?
Oh
Just
yeah,
randomly.
he's the constant. He's like the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. It's more like the fruitcake you can't get rid of. You keep regifting it.
Yeah, the car was returned to the family, but that doesn't mean they didn't collect evidence.
Anyway, but I think the Koberger thing is worthy of its own program, right? Don't you think, Chris? Because it's
oh yeah, no, we're going to do a program. I've got
never ends.
The 29th, which is what, 2 days, Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Is it Wednesday? Yeah, we're doing John Bonet with John Ramsey, part 4. What's your choice? What's your read on the card cover from Annie's card that she placed in the front yard? Did you see the photograph of that, Gary? Folks have been asking about your opinion on that.
Choice of the cover of the card. I didn't see it, and I don't know if it has any significance. What is it?
It's some type of dragon. Let me pull it up real fast. Let me go look for it, and then I'll put a picture up. Hang on. Let's see here. All right, here it is. Looks like some type of lion or dragon or something. Hang on for a minute.
I don't know if I'm going to think it has any significance, but who knows?
All right. Stand by. There you go, bud.
Oh. Looks to me like a cheetah or a leopard.
Ocelot, maybe, or a leopard. Curious choice for a card commemorating your mom. With a bird on its, a small bird on its head.
Interesting. Is it homemade? Have we looked up if this card is offered anywhere, or is it homemade, or what?
I'm not sure. I know it's missing. It's in my
unit.
Very interesting.
Somebody has borrowed it. You remember what the verbiage was inside?
It looks maybe homemade.
It's exactly what it looks like. Maybe done with pastels.
Very strange.
Well, I wanted to know what the purpose of it was. Meaning what the whole walking down the driveway and placing it in the memorial when they tore the memorial down.
It's just odd. Strikes me as odd. I don't know what else to say about it. I don't want to make too much meaning out of it, but it's it's peculiar.
So here's an interesting question. It says, does the flower at the bottom of the left card look like the one on Savannah's shirt? So here's Savannah's shirt, and here's the card.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is interesting. Not exact. Good observation there, California Madison. Very interesting. It doesn't look like a match to me exactly, but it certainly is interesting.
I think you can Google image search the card and see if it's printed professionally as opposed to being homemade.
It's called Wildcat's card.
So it exists. It's a real card that's offered by somebody. Chris, just take the image and do an image search on Google and see if it's offered by a publisher.
Yeah, I'll look it up. I just we'll have to pull it up. It's a real card. Yeah, so you can buy them. Haviland.
It's very interesting.
So, okay. It's
artistic. Let me put it that way. It would appeal to someone of an artistic nature. But that's all. Did
Annie draw both and make the shirt for her mom? Great question. That is a great question. You guys are amazing. Gary, John, thank you so much for being here tonight. We're going to ship out here. And if you can get Gary and John's books below in the links. John's book is out now. Dr. Brucato has The New Evil. And he's also got a couple more. I can't wait to put those up when they get here. And then,
especially the one we're doing together, Chris.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good time. And then, anyway, that's our show for this evening, everybody. We want to thank you all for being with us and tell you, we can't do this without you. So we really appreciate you. And as they say in Hawaii, continue to be akamai, take care of one another. And we'll see you Wednesday night with John Ramsey on part 4 for the Ramsey series that we're doing. It's probably going to be about a 10-part series. So we're only a quarter of the way there. So anyway, aloha. Take care. See you on the next one.
Right.
Bye, everybody.
Hard working every day. I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts. Wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah. Make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii.
One more time before you go. Someday you'll know. Someday you'll know. Already know what I'm going to say. I've been feeling this way for far too long. And now you're gone. Took me away from all of my fears. Kept me away from all never go.